Not the best weather today, at least it's not raining, just going by various areas to see what's left of the scenery. And what did I read today? More news, I guess, about Paris being concerned over drones, and it doesn't sound like their counter-drone plans are going as planned. This one says, doubts persist in Paris over the anti-drone shield. With just over 3.5 months to go until the Paris 2024 Games, there are still uncertainties surrounding the defense system designed to protect Paris from a hypothetical attack at the opening ceremony, when more than 300,000 people will gather with eyes of the world upon them. So they mentioned here one of the reasons why they are really concerned is because of that attack that happened in Russia. And it says France has suffered 22 attacks since 2015, and despite the ongoing threat, President Emmanuel Macron assured on Thursday that the open-air ceremony along the sign remains the preferred plan, but alternatives are being considered. So what exactly is the issue? It says uncertainty looms over the anti-drone defense shield planned for the Olympic event, which will take place in Paris from 26th of July to 11th of August, especially after the publication of a sensitive parliamentary report on the matter was ruled out. The military response during the game was awarded to Defense and Security Industries Group, Thales and CS Group in April 2022, but the delivery of 6 systems dubbed Parade, scheduled for June 2023, has been delayed by several months. Well, that's not very good, is it? Especially when you get that big of a contract. The delay forced the Senate to set up an information commission at the end of last year. The president of this commission, Cédric Perrin, warned defense journalists on December that the fight against drone was, quote, not up to scratch. 3 months later, a large-scale exercise organized by the Air Force in mid-March to test the first Parade systems in Villecoble, southwest of Paris, also failed to convince all participants. Wow, no money back, I guess. And it says, in response and for reasons for national security, the senators announced on the 20th of March that their report would not be made public. This is a matter of national security, and its publication could be dangerous. And they kind of mentioned here where you could have the best systems in place in the world, but nothing's really 100%. It says, Alain Bauer, a professor of criminology at the University of Paris, said, no system is as effective as expected, as demonstrated almost daily by what is happening in Ukraine. Although the systems are undoubtedly among the best in the world, some drones manage to slip through. Well, let's see what happens. And kind of like they mentioned with that point where nothing's 100%, does that make people, I guess, feel uneasy attending these events live based on what happened around the world, as they say? And in terms of investing in technology, this was kind of interesting where apparently here in Canada, they're going to invest billions into, I guess, things like AI. This says Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announces billions to build Canada's AI capacity. The Liberal government is setting aside $2.4 billion in the upcoming budget to build capacity in artificial intelligence, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced Sunday. The bulk of that $2 billion is going into a fund that will aim to provide access to computing capabilities and technical infrastructure. Trudeau made the announcement in Montreal as part of a pre-budget tour. He said the government will begin consulting with industry soon on a new AI compute access fund and an accompanying strategy to grow the sector in Canada, saying, quote, we want to help the companies adopt AI in a way that will have positive impacts for everyone. Trudeau said, adding that $200 million will go towards boosting the adoption of AI in sectors like agriculture, healthcare, and clean technology. Well, I guess that's good, but funny enough, what this makes me think of is this going to be like one of those ArriveCan things where all these random companies just scam the government out of millions of dollars and so forth? I don't think that thing's concluded yet either. I guess at this rate, I guess it's good that it's on the radar, but again, it makes you wonder, is the money actually going to be used, I guess, in a productive way as intended? And I read this here, which is kind of interesting, where I often seen all these electric scooters and stuff going around all the time. I don't think much about it, but apparently there's rules, for example, where if it's like, say, some kind of e-bike or so forth, they can't go more than 50 kilometers an hour. And so what they're proposing is to have things like geofence, kind of like some of the drones and so forth. This one says Vancouver parks to allow e-bike scooters on cycling paths. The Vancouver Park Board plans to tweak its bylaws to allow e-bikes and electric kick scooters on designated cycling paths in park-controlled areas of the city. The proposed changes come as Vancouver is set to launch an e-scooter rideshare program and as the use of micro-mobility devices continue to increase. That's kind of interesting. Should I try that? As part of the plan, City Council recently approved traffic bylaw changes making scooters legal on streets with speed limits of 50 kilometers an hour or less and on the Stanley Park seawall. The latest bylaw change would extend access to park pathways and the section of the seawall under park board control. That's kind of funny to think about because, again, I see them all the time. Are they, quote, technically illegal? I mean, it doesn't bother me for what most people use it for from what I've seen anyways, when they go around things like the seawall and so forth, but that's kind of interesting again because what they're planning is to implement some kind of geofence, and it says here for safety, the city engineering department is being asked to set up geofencing on shared scooters to digitally control their speed, especially in high traffic areas such as the seawall. The operator chosen to run the shared scooter program would also work with the staff to restrict scooters from areas where e-bikes are already not allowed, such as along busy pedestrian paths. E-scooter speeds would otherwise be limited to speeds of 25 kilometers an hour or less under provincial rules. Well, that's really fascinating, where everything's going to be restricted in that way, like digitally and all that. What would you think of that? Although in this case, you could argue it's being rented anyway, so you don't own it. But then the other argument for things like drones, as you guys know, there's companies like DJI where they restrict you and you need their permission even though you outright bought the equipment. So what would you think in this regards, where it's a quote rental and it's only within like specific areas and all that? All right, see you guys later.